Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. This morning we will be discussing on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, verse 13, and the chapter is entitled The Departure of Lord Krishna to Dwarka, and the class will be given by His Grace Vishnupada Prabhu from ISKCON, Philadelphia. Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. Vancha Kalpatarubyascha
Kripa Sindhu
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna is all yours, Prabhu.
Thank you. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Jashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vana Chari Jamuna Tira Vana Chari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vana Chari Jamuna Tira Vana Chari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Shani Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mayi Ki Jai. Jamuna Mayi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shamaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Prishtaya Bhutare Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shami Iti Namane Namaste. Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are today reading, studying, and discussing the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 10th chapter, 13th verse. What's the title of this chapter?
The departure of Lord Krishna to Dwarka.
Thank you. Sarve te nimishar akshais tanganu druta chetasa vikshanta sneha sambadha vichelus tatra tatraha. Sarve te nimishar akshais tam anudruta chetasa vikshanta sneha sambadha vichelus tatra tatraha. Sarve te nimishar akshais tam anudruta chetasa vikshanta sneha sambadha vichelas tatra tatraha. Please chant.
Savitin Mishai Akshay. Sorry. Tam Anuduta Chetasa Vikshantas Neha Sambadha Vichilus Tatra Tatraha.
Sarve te nimishar akshais tam anudruta chetasaha viksanta sneha sambadha vichilus tatra tatraha.
Dear Krishna Prabhu. Was traveling or something?
He must
Any
be
other-
on the road, I'm thinking. Oh, there he is.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, accept my humble obeisance. Sarve te nimishar akesha tam anudrat chetasaha vikshantaha sneha sambandha vichalestar tatra tatraha.
Thank you.
Varsha, you wanted to chant?
Anyone
Okay,
else?
she's on mute. I thought she wanted to chant, but she's
Oh,
not.
okay. Okay. Are you okay?
Hi, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandot Pranam.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
You want to chant?
I will just try, just
Yes.
join.
Please.
Yeah, sarvate nimisher excess tam anutruta chetasaha vishantaha sneha sambhata vechalustatra tatraha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you. There's in this pronunciation, there's the question of the dot under the H. So I usually don't go aha, even though technically you're supposed to go aha, at least at the end of the line. You know, there's two lines here at the end of the line. The reason I don't is because Srila Prabhupada generally didn't. He sometimes did, but generally he didn't do it. Usually never, not in the middle of the line though. So, you know, but at the end of the line. But it's technically correct to do that, but I don't do it just because you usually don't hear Srila Prabhupada do it, although he sometimes did it. Okay. Sarve, all. Te, they. Animishai, without twinkling of the eyes. Akshai, by the eye. Tam anu, after him. Druta chetasa, melted heart. Vikshanta, looking upon him. Sneha sambadha, bound by pure affection. Vichelu, began to move. Tatra tatra, here and there. Ha, so they did. Translation. All their hearts were melting for him on the pot of attraction. They looked at him without blinking their eyes, and they moved hither and thither in perplexity. Purport. Krishna is naturally attractive for all living beings because he is the chief eternal amongst all eternals. He alone is the maintainer of many eternals. This is stated in the Katha Upanishad, and thus one can obtain permanent peace and prosperity by revival of one's eternal relation with him, now forgotten under the spell of Maya, the illusory energy of the Lord. Once this relation is slightly revived, the conditioned soul at once becomes freed from the illusion of material energy and becomes mad after the association of the Lord. This association is made possible not only by personal contact with the Lord, but also by association with his name, fame, form, and quality. Srimad Bhagavatam trains the conditioned soul to this stage of perfection by submissive hearing from the pure devotee. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtang Sthapitang Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamahyam Dadati Sha Pandantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktabinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Let's look, all their hearts were melting for him on the pot of attraction. They looked at him without blinking their eyes, and they moved hither and thither in perplexity. So who are we talking about here? Whose hearts?
The hearts of the devotees. I think the previous, a couple of verses back, they mentioned, interestingly, Gandhari, Dhritarashtra, Bhim, Nakul, Sahadev, and the women.
Yeah, the
Looking at
ladies of
Krishna.
the ladies of Hastinapur also,
Yes.
particularly, yes. Yeah. And their hearts were melting because so Queen Kunti prayed to Lord Krishna because he was getting ready to go. So Queen Kunti gave her illustrious, beautiful, wonderful prayers that are famous, the prayers of Queen Kunti. And then after hearing the prayers of Queen Kunti, his aunt, paternal aunt. So what did Lord Krishna do?
You mean after the praise of Queen Kunti, Prabhu?
Yes.
What did Lord Krishna do?
What did Lord Krishna? In the essence of those prayers is Queen Kunti is glorifying Lord Krishna, and then near the end she's saying, you know, we went through so many troubles, and because we went through those troubles, you helped us out. You were there for us, but now we're in a good position, and you're leaving. Don't leave. Pretty much, she's saying, isn't it? Yeah. So then, what did Lord Krishna do after hearing her prayers, with her heartfelt prayers?
He stayed a little longer.
That's true, but let's. In what way? Parikshit Prabhu, what do you say?
That's what I also know, that he stayed a little longer. But I think that was when Uttara also came running about her situation.
Uttara, yeah.
After, yeah, but no, it was actually Uttara was there before. Anyway,
Oh.
so Lord Krishna smiled. He smiled, and then he got ready to leave. You remember this? He got ready to leave, and then Yudhishthira Maharaj approached him and said, well, you know, he was feeling really devastated, and grandfather Bhishma was on the bed of arrows about to leave his body. So at that point, so even though he was getting ready to leave, he was he took the it looked like he appeared to be ready to leave, but he took the influence of the request of Maharaj Yudhishthira to stay, and then he went to see with the Pandavas and others grandfather Bhishma on the bed of arrows there, and then after that he stayed even some more time, right? So from appearances, it seems that Queen Kunti is doing these wonderful prayers, and then Krishna's not fulfilling her request. No, he's getting ready to leave. But then when Yudhishthira Maharaj says, no, come, please come, then he accepts Yudhishthira. So how come he didn't accept Queen Kunti's prayers, but he accepted Yudhishthira's requests? Why is that?
That's the same question I have, Prabhu. Why? But that's his paternal aunt.
Yeah. What do you say? What does dear Krishna Prabhu say? I'm picking on you today, dear Krishna Prabhu.
Your mercy, Prabhu. Could you please repeat the question, Prabhu?
Sure. So how come it seems that Lord Krishna, even though Mother Kunti prayed so wonderfully, he didn't accept her request of staying, but then when Yudhishthira Maharaj asked, he did stay?
Hmm.
Isn't that right? Isn't it true? Isn't that right?
Yes.
It's puzzling. It's puzzling. And her prayers are famous and wonderful, but still Krishna seems like he's getting ready to leave. So we had a little bit of this discussion, and in the Philadelphia Srimad Bhagavatam. So somebody said, well, it's because the whole purpose of the Kurukshetra war was what?
To make, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, Prabhu, to make Maharaj Yudhishthira the king of the whole Bharatvarsha.
Yes, to install Yudhishthira and the Pandavas. He wanted to do regime change because he wanted his devotees to be ruling and not usurpers. So Yudhishthira Maharaj at that point, he was really depressed and he didn't want it. He was lamenting, oh, so many people have died because of me. How can I, there was guilt, tremendous guilt. And even what we see in this chapter, Shaunaka Rishi is saying, well, how is, after all this death, how can Maharaj Yudhishthira rule so without any compunction or difficulty? So even Shaunaka is saying that. So somebody said, well, that means that Krishna fulfilled Yudhishthira's request because he really needed it more than Mother Kunti. That was one answer that was given.
Is it because Maharaj Yudhishthira was the king, so he was respecting the position of the request of a king?
Yeah, those are certainly possibilities. The king, although, think about it. If that's the case, there's a little bit of a trouble with that, because does that mean that Krishna responds to the prayers of the big shots, but not the small timers like us? You could say that argument could be made, and it certainly very well might be, but ultimately, we don't know exactly why Krishna does that, because Krishna's activities are beyond our material calculation to understand. But an important and real, because as far as I know, I couldn't find any, but Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas don't really elaborate on this difference, this reason. So anything we could say is in the realm of speculation. Do you follow? Although it's kind of fun sometimes to speculate, but we can't come to any conclusion, definitive conclusion. So, but it's interesting to note this. It's interesting how Krishna is doing things. But yes, dear Krishna Prabhu says Lord Krishna does he does as he likes, and it's impossible to understand all of his purposes. Yeah, but if you look at the whole pastime, though, we find that he satisfied both Yudhishthira Maharaj and Queen Kunti, right? Because he stayed. Even though he appeared that he was going to leave, he didn't leave. And who is the person who's writing the script for this whole activity? Lord Krishna. So it's very interesting. He's doing it this way, but he ultimately satisfies both Yudhishthira Maharaj and Queen Kunti, and of course Bhishmadev and all the other devotees by his activities. So,
Prabhu, is it also safe to speculate that is because Krishna, no one controls Krishna, and whatever he does is beyond our thinking? Is it because that he knew, that Yudhishthira would ask, so he just complied?
Certainly Krishna he knows everything that's going on. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjana bhavishyani chubhuta. I know, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that's happening in the present time, everything in the past, everything in the future. I also know all living entities. So sometimes people wonder, well, if Krishna knows everything, does that mean everything is determined and people have no free will? What about that? I thought part of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is that individuals have their little bit of free will. What about that? What do you say?
But Prabhu, so somehow what is coming to what just hit me is I will remember a conversation between one devotee and Srila Prabhupada, and I forgot who this devotee was. And this devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, why do people join the movement but they don't stick around? They leave. And then Srila Prabhupada said, yes, that's sad. And then this devotee again asked the question, repeated in a different way, but same concept. And Srila Prabhupada said, because the misuse of free will.
Yes. So we do have some independence, some free will, right? Krishna is, as dear Krishna Prabhu correctly pointed out, that Krishna is completely Swarat, and we have a little bit of independence, not much. We think we have more independence than we do. But so Lord Krishna, you know, he knows everything in the future. Does that mean everything is determined? Well, you could say, but how does that fit with that minute independence? Well, the answer will be, yes, people have their independence, their minute free will. And Krishna knows how you're going to use that. Although he's not making you use it in a particular way. He doesn't, when you say determination, that somebody's arranged it. But Krishna knows what you're going to do, what choices you're going to make with that independent free will. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, Prabhu. So is it like that, you know, the story of the two birds, right? Krishna is watching the other one, knowing what he's going to do. He's just watching.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So in this case, the conclusion is, we don't know what a bull tied to a column. The bull. Yes. Go ahead, dear Krishna Prabhu. You can say that. Yeah. Go ahead, dear Krishna Prabhu. Or you're at work or something?
Yes, Prabhu. So I think I heard in Srimad Bhagavatam, maybe in one of our morning discussion only, I'm not sure, but the free will is explained, like you said, it's like, you know, in the villages, they tie the bull or cow in the center with a column, and then
Yes.
the bull can only go up to certain circumference of that, depending on the length of the rope, not
Yes.
beyond that. So
Yes.
this is how it is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam also.
Thank you. So then the determination is Krishna, even though we have our activity, our little area of free will, still he knows how we're going to use that free will. That's how he knows everything happening past, present, and future. So Lord Krishna, he satisfied both Queen Kunti and Yudhishthira Maharaj, even though it seemed like for a few moments, he was gonna go back to Dwarka after Queen Kunti's prayers, but he smiled after those prayers, which would indicate the whole purpose of your devotional service is to please Krishna. So Krishna was pleased. Lord Krishna showed his pleasure about those prayers by his transcendental smile. And if we can get that smile of Krishna or the spiritual master by our activities, then that is perfection. Yeah. So that's an interesting point here. So we're here now, Lord Krishna, after hearing Bhishma Dev's instructions and being present for the passing away of Bhishma Dev, he stayed a little longer, a couple more months, not just a couple days, but a couple months. Even though he had a lot to do back in Dwarka, he stayed more time in Hastinapur, and now he's leaving. And let's take a look at the specific Sanskrit words here in this verse, if you could pull it up a little bit. Sarve all animishai. You see that without twinkling of the eyes. The interesting use of twinkling. So twinkling, usually you think of twinkling, I don't know, when in the United States, when you grow up, you learn this little phrase, twinkle, twinkle, little star. Did you learn that one too? twinkle. So twinkle, twinkle means fluctuating brightness and fluctuating levels of brightness. But here's the twinkling of the eyes. So I looked it up. There's a second meaning of twinkling if you look it up in the dictionary, and guess what that might be?
Prabhu, is that where they say there's like a twinkling in like a star sparkling kind of a thing?
That goes along with the twinkling of the stars. Yeah, twinkle, twinkle, little star. Yeah, similar, because the brightness, that there's a twinkle in the person's eye. Somebody says there's a twinkle in the eye of Santa Claus, right? That's the same idea of the little brightness. It's fluctuating brightness. But another meaning of twinkle is blink. I didn't know that. So Prabhupada's very, very concise here. Another meaning of twinkle is blink. So the without blinking of the eyes, that's how it's translated in the translation, right? And there's some reflection. It's perhaps an older use of the word twinkle, but it's very colorful. So it's reflected in the phrase, that happened in the twinkling of an eye, right? In the twinkling of an eye, that happened. That's the blinking of an eye, right? That happened. So animisha, and there are people in India with that name, animisha. Have you know anybody with that name, animisha? Yes, it's not an uncommon name. It's not very common, but people get. So I thought, let me look this name. Let me look that Sanskrit word up, see if there's other meanings to it. That person, no blinking of the eye. So I did a search on Vedabase for that word animisha, and what it came up with was a lot of times animisha means the demigods. The demigods are one meaning of animisha as the demigods, because they're always watching. They don't close their eyes. They don't, that's one. And another meaning I found of animisha is referred to Krishna, Lord Krishna, as eternal time, who's always watching, who doesn't close his eyes. Animisha. So, we're always blinking, and sometimes we find that people who have some kind of physical or mental disorder, they blink way too much. Doesn't it happen? But the demigods and Krishna's eternal time don't blink. They don't need to blink. And in this case, the residents of Hastinapur, particularly the ladies, when they were looking at Lord Krishna, they didn't blink their eyes like the demigods, like eternal time. Why is that? Because they were so taken. Their hearts were being melted with ecstatic love of Krishna that they wanted to keep their eyes open as much as possible. So this is very interesting. I don't have this ability. Maybe some of you do, but it's the symptom of sneha, their sneha, attraction, bound by pure affection, sneha, affection. And we, our current position in this world is we are attracted by different things. Sometimes the attraction of the gopis, or in this case, the ladies of Hastinapur, to Lord Krishna, is compared to the attraction of young boys and girls. But it's a qualitatively different. The difference is there between love and lust. Within this world, what goes under the name of love is lust, because the main function of that attraction is, how am I going to get my senses satisfied? And if the so-called beloved doesn't satisfy my senses, then I reject them. Whereas in the spiritual sense, love means, how can I satisfy the beloved? Automatically, my senses will be satisfied. That's a very big distinction. So unfortunately, people tend to equate Lord Krishna's activities with the residents of Vrindavan, or here the ladies of Hastinapur, as mundane attraction to some movie star personality, and they would get misled by that, and they take it all to be mundane. But this is the highest level of spiritual attainment. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was a very strict sannyasi, and even the lady followers, he had many, but they would have to offer obeisances from a distance, because he would not have close association with the women disciples as a sannyasi. But Lord Chaitanya, that same very strict sannyasi, said that the worship of the Gopi residents of Vrindavan is the topmost, the best. So that means that's just a sign that that love, that worship of, like the ladies here in Hastinapur or the Gopis of Vrindavan headed by Srimati Radharani, is not material. It's purely spiritual love. It looks like, it might look a little bit like lust, but it's not. What's the difference? Prema Vivarta says, nice verse, Atmendriya Priti Vancha Thare Bole Kam, Krishnendriya Priti Icha Dhare Prem Nam. You know this one? It's a very nice verse. Atmendriya Priti, desire to satisfy Atmendriyas, your own senses, Priti, satisfying your own senses, Vancha, wanting to do that, Tare Bole Kam, that's called lust. Satisfying one's own senses is lust. Krishnendriya Priti, satisfying the senses of Krishna, Icha, wanting to do that, Icha, Icha Dhare Prem Nam, that's called love. Different, like iron and gold, two different things. So these devotees, they're seeing the wonderful, transcendental, beautiful form of Krishna, the all attractive form of Krishna, and they're not able to take their eyes away. They're not even able to, they don't even want to blink their eyes because it's so enthralling. Does this ever happen for you, that you get so engrossed in something you don't want to get to miss even a second of that? Does that ever happen for you?
Yes, Prabhu.
In what way?
And anything from attending a program, to watching a movie, to listening to a lecture.
Okay. Yes. I mean, if we think about it, unfortunately, in most of, well, it's usually not a Krishna conscious thing. You get engrossed in some kind of a movie. You don't want to get distracted. But also, sometimes when a devotee is presenting, Krishna consciousness in a very attractive way, or Srila Prabhupada is speaking, then you don't want to miss even a second of it, because that's the same principle is here. When it's a mundane thing like a movie, it's a perverted reflection. But that's because actually the soul is wanting to drink in that eternal rasa, taste of Krishna consciousness, but it's misdirected to something else. But this principle is there, and the more we can come to the platform of being engrossed, being overwhelmed, and fully engaged in appreciating, hearing about, serving, having darshan of Lord Krishna, that will purify our hearts. And right now, it's not so pronounced. The attraction for Lord Krishna is there for everyone, but because of our material dirtiness, contamination, it's not manifest as it should be. Just like magnets will attract iron, but if the iron is is rusty, it won't attract. You have to clean off the rust. The magnet is effective, but with a rusty piece of iron, it doesn't attract. Similarly, our hearts, they would naturally be attracted to Lord Krishna, but because of the rust there, the attraction isn't manifest as it should be. So what can we do about that? Wow, it's that we'll have to talk about. But one other thing I wanted to say about this is, this attraction, that Krishna is this mostly all attractive person. Naturally, everyone is attracted. Sometimes we see that in discussing the pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. I don't know if you've read Shyama Sundar's book, Chasing Rhinos with the Swami. Have you seen that book? Anyway, he quite often mentions that he was sometimes astounded by how attractive Srila Prabhupada was in his pastimes and his teachings, his golden form. Even though he was apparently an older Indian gentleman, the transcendental attraction was shining through. Also, Mukunda Swami said that in his book, that Prabhupada was just shining and attractive to his disciples. So much so that just like here in this pastime of Lord Krishna leaving for Hastinapur, when Srila Prabhupada would go to the airport before leaving, a place on the way to fly to another place, all the devotees, as many as possible, would go there. You know that? And they would sit, and Srila Prabhupada would sit, and the devotees would sit there and just drink in his transcendental presence for many, many times. So it was very wonderful. So the verse is there in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Prashangam ajaram pasham atmana kavayo vidu sa eva sadhushu krito moksha dvaram apavratam. It says, every learned man knows that attachment to the material is the cause of bondage. But that same attachment or attraction, when transferred to the devotees of the Lord, opens the door for liberation. The same attraction, just transfer it there to the devotees of the Lord. Moksha dvaram upavratam. So if we can learn to develop a little bit of attraction, by opening our eyes or hearing that for the devotees of the Lord, then our path to Krishna is open. Unfortunately, we don't have much attraction, if you're like me. And Lord Chaitanya and other great devotees have prayed in that condition to help give us a path about what we should do. For example, I don't know, maybe you know some of these prayers. I'll start you off. Nam nama kari bahuda nija sarva shaktis tatrar pita niyamata smarane nakala etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdayavami drishyami hajani nanaraga. So what is that? What is that translation? You know it, you know it. Oh my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction upon the living beings, and therefore you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda, etc. In these transcendental names, you've invested all of your transcendental potencies, and there are not even hard or fast rules for chanting the holy names. Oh my Lord, you have so kindly made approach to easy by your holy names, but what?
I'm so unfortunate that I have no
Yeah.
attraction for them.
Yeah, I have no unfortunate. This is like Chaitanya is praying for us, right? I have no attraction for him. I have no attraction for them. And then he says, Nayanam galudasudarea, vadanam gadgadabudaya gira, pulakani chetam vapukada, tavanama grahane bhavishyati. He's saying, what? What is that? Oh my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love? My yes, when I'm chanting your holy name, my voice will be choked up and my body will be get goosebumps just by chanting your holy name. So he's praying like that because for us, that's our position. We're stuck in our material attractions. We got to transfer it to the devotee of the Lord and the devotional service of the Lord. Narottam Das. Golokera Prema Dhan Harinam Sankirtan. The chanting of the holy names has come from the spiritual sky. This is something that's completely transcendental. It's not a mundane activity. It's coming from Ratina Janmilokenetai. But in my heart, my attraction has not been yet born for that chanting. I'm so unfortunate, isn't it? That's what he says. Yeah. Gauranga bolite habe pulaka sharir hari hari bolite nayane babini. When I chant the name Gauranga, Gauranga bolite pulaka sharir. Well, I get goosebumps. Hari hari bolite and chanting hari hari nayane babini. And when will my eyes be decorated with those love tears coming? So that's called what's that called? Lala Samayi, you know, Lala Samayi means intense desire to have Krishna consciousness. What is the price of Krishna consciousness? What do you have to give? What's the price?
Eagerness.
Yeah,
greed, eagerness.
Intense eagerness to get that Krishna consciousness. So, I mean, looking at myself and we're seeing these residents of Hastinapur, where they're so advanced and they look at Lord Krishna, they're seeing his, and they're just completely transfixed in his darshan, having his darshan there. And then I think of myself, and I look even for a few seconds and I get distracted, isn't it? Or I'm chanting and I get distracted so easily. So I have so long way to go. So what's the solution? Well, let us pray for some that drop of mercy to get attraction for the pastimes, the activities, the name, the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And on the basis of that, we can get out of this material world. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was debating with Gopinath Acharya about the divinity of Lord Chaitanya. He said, there's no incarnation in Kali Yuga. So why are you saying he's divine? So Gopinath Acharya responded many ways, but finally he said, Atapi te deva padam bujadvayam prashado leshanu grihita evahi janati tatvam bhagavan mahimno. He said, a person who doesn't have a drop of mercy, a person who does have a drop of mercy from the two lotus feet, Dvayam, the two lotus feet of Lord Krishna, they can begin to appreciate and understand your glories. But a person who doesn't have that mercy, like you, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Gopinath Acharya said, he can't understand Krishna. He can't be attracted, even if he speculates and tries to figure out this situation for hundreds and thousands of years. So the process of Krishna consciousness has been, the residents here of Hastinapur have become very advanced by their devotional service in this life and previous lives, and hopefully we can come to the level of their attraction. The description is given here. Their hearts were melting for him on the pot of attraction. Our hearts are my heart is steel framed, therefore it's not melting. So what to do? Well, take heart. The process of Krishna consciousness does work. We just have to be very careful to apply it carefully, without deviation. So there's 10 offenses in chanting. One has to avoid those offenses, avoid the 4 sinful activities, and regularly, as much as possible, engage in Krishna service. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam piti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. If we can regularly, always, as much as possible, engage in Krishna service, then this process will work and will awaken the attraction for the devotional service and the personality of Godhead and his devotees, as mentioned in this verse. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Such a nice class and really connecting us to all the dots and helping us to learn that it's only by the mercy of the devotees and prayer and devotional services, you said, that we can turn my still heart frame into something much softer if possible.
It is possible. Yeah, it is possible.
It's so hard.
We got a ways to go. So the good thing is that there's a process that works, and then the other thing is to realize we got a ways to go. So both things we got to be realistic about things. So both things we have to know.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Would like to ask devotees if you have any questions, any comments, any clarification, please do either jump right in, or you can raise your hand. I'll call upon you. Prabhu, I have a question, and I was just wondering, this the word that says sneha sambandha. The word sambandha, is it somehow related to the word sambandha? Is there a connection?
I don't know.
I was just curious.
I don't know. Yeah, but sambandha usually means stopping something. Sambandha, sneha, they're stopping. But I don't know for sure. I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, so sneha we know it means affection, and sometimes people are giving their kids the name Sneha, also their daughters usually. Sambandha, bandha. So the prefix sam usually means fully, completely. Sankirtan, sambandha, bandha. Dear Krishna Prabhu, do you have any insight in this?
I think, Prabhu, you're right. It is all-encompassing, and that sambandha, that relationship has sambandha. This is Badha means one who is tied up, who is bound.
Yeah. Oh, okay, Badha. Badha Jiva. Badha Jiva means tied up. Yeah, thank you. Badha Jiva, tied up. So they're tied up by their affection. And because of their affection, there stays that they become very restless. We're restless because we're in Maya. We can't do. But these people are restless because of their extreme love of God. There's a restlessness that comes from that, which is Prabhupada talks about it in the purport, that they become mad. Lord Chaitanya some people thought he was mad because he was experiencing transcendental ecstasy and chanting the holy names, and they thought, well, I think the some of the Hindus said, well, we don't know what makes him go crazy. He needs to put some Vishnu oil on his head to calm him down. Right. So, but that's one of the symptoms of advanced love of God.
Thank you, Prabhu. And thank you, dear Krishna, for clarifying, because somehow the word was a couple of letters and I was just thinking, is there any connection? But thank you for
Yes,
clarifying that.
yes. Well, dear Krishna Prabhu did that good well.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much. And Prabhu, also, the translation to this verse, to me at least, it's kind of poetic, which I thought it was really, really sweet. It sounded like a prose, very like poetic a little bit. And I liked how Srila Prabhupada translated the first line, all the hearts were melting for him on the part of attraction. And I was just thinking, again, my mind is going cuckoo here, I think, that why is the attraction in a pot? Because sometimes when you think of attraction, it's like, oh my God, it's everywhere. It's like limitless. It's like, we get bombarded. But here Srila Prabhupada is saying pot, which is like constrained, contained. I might be reading too much into it.
The pot of the it's melting. It's an analogy, yeah. It's constrained, and it's the heart by nature is its original nature, where the soul is attracted to the wonderful glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's contained in that. And then if you actually have attraction for Krishna and love for Krishna, then secondarily you'll love everybody, because everyone is related to Krishna, but not in a material way, So, I mean, it's I really can't say too much more about that as the analogy. We know that there's the expression of a melting pot. Well, a melting pot is something else.
Melting pot, yeah.
Yeah, the melting pot. It's people used to say the United States or Canada is a melting pot because there's also different ethnicities and nationalities come. Then they said, no. It's people retain their distinction. So here, there's in the melting pot, the heart has so many feelings, but they're all overwhelmed and become one in the steady attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All those different feelings, thoughts, ideas, they get melted together in this pot of love of God. Hopefully we can come to that point.
Thank you, Prabhu. It's funny because this morning, I've all of a sudden, this morning when I woke up, and that same thought crossed my mind, like, when will I ever get over this crazy steel frame and get attracted? Somehow the thought just came to my mind, and Krishna's arrangement this morning's class was just that. Like, oh my God, I got some long way to go. And when will I get there? It's like forever.
And that's humility too, to recognize that. That's humility. Which is that's a prime ingredient in making further progress. So on one hand, it might be a little discouraging, but on the other hand, that's the requirement to know. Oh, I have to go further. Yes, I've got a long way to go. I please, the example that Srila Prabhupada gives also is the bird sparrow. Was it a sparrow on the shore of the ocean, and the ocean took the sparrow's eggs. And so the sparrow decides, okay, all right, you're gonna mess with me. I'm gonna dry up the ocean. So the ocean, the sparrow goes and takes beakfuls of water from the ocean and runs back on land and throws the water, and that way the sparrow thinks he'll dry up the ocean. Finally, Garuda, seeing the efforts of this little bird, takes mercy on the little bird and comes and says, all right, ocean, you give this bird back his eggs, otherwise you have to deal with me. So that's our situation. We're waiting for the mercy of Krishna to break our hearts and open them up so that we'll have an appreciation more fully of Krishna consciousness, devotional service, all that stuff. Watching, serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his spiritual master.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Any other questions, last minute questions from devotees, thoughts, anything? We had a message in the chat that Mother Mamina said that, where is that? There, she said that she loved the class today. It was very, very heartfelt and heartful. I have to agree. It was very, very, very sweet. Thank you so much, Mamina. And if there are no questions, we thank you all. I'm going down the list here. We thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much, Vishwagata
Sure.
Prabhu.
Hare
Vancha
Krishna,
Prabhupada
Panchakapita
Kripa
Vishki
Sindhu
Prasandi
Patitanam
Patitanam Pavrido
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavibhyo Namaha.
Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you so much, Prabhu. And
Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna.
we're looking forward to seeing you next Saturday.
Next Saturday for the Kirtan
Yes, Prabhu.
Springs Kirtan Festival. Yeah,
Yes, Prabhu.
I think that you invited Balabhadra Prabhu too, right?
Yes, we invited Balabhadra Prabhu, and there's another. You might know Bubrit Prabhu from Gitanagari, proper disciple too.
I don't know, maybe. I don't know.
I'm sure you've seen by face, you might know him because he says that he
Yeah.
knows you.
Okay,
Great.
Bubrit. Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.